Here we have Mario's first foray into the handheld market, with Super Mario Land on Game Boy from 1989. This game is notorious for being one of Mario's first games to not have Shigeru Miyamoto deeply involved. And it shows, not because it's a bad game, it just really strayed away from what we know as the 2D Mario formula. Also notable, this was the first appearance of Princess Daisy, who would go on to be a mainstay character throughout Mario history. As the story goes, Mario heard of the turmoil in Sarasa Land and traveled there to defeat the alien overlord Tatanga. Super Mario Land, for the most part, plays just like a Mario platformer game. However, many familiar enemies react differently, and so too do some power-ups. There's even 2 side-scrolling shooter levels where Mario is piloting a submarine and a fighter plane. Unlike the Koopas of Mushroom Kingdom, this world's bombshell Koopas will turn into a bomb upon being stomped and explode seconds later. There are some enemies added to this game that move in unique ways too, like the Toko Toko that runs very quickly across the ground, or the Batadon that bounces around in slightly disorienting ways. There's many more, but they all are defeatable when you figure out their patterns. While the Fire Flower does exist in Sarasa Land, you don't get the typical Fire Mario power-up. Instead, he becomes Super Ball Mario, and launches a projectile ball that bounces around the screen and stage elements, disappearing after a short period of time, or if it connects with an enemy. I found Mario's movements in this game felt quite good, even though he dropped like a brick from the air. It felt a lot better than Super Mario Bros. On the NES, but Nintendo did have 4 years to work on the physics after all. The bosses actually looked pretty huge compared to Mario, but there were ways to bypass them and hit the axe at the end to defeat them, similar to how you would beat Bowser in Super Mario Bros. The Super Ball comes in really handy, as lobbing a few into them will help defeat the bosses. Super Mario Land's gameplay gets an 8 out of 10. Being one of the first Game Boy games, Super Mario Land took advantage of super simple shapes and made everything very readable. Mario kinda feels like a lanky version of himself, and something that caught my eye was that his color palette is exactly the same between him being Super Mario and Super Ball Mario. I don't think the Game Boy was so limited that they couldn't do a grayscale palette swap. Enemies read well, most being simplistic shapes, while some of the more ferocious baddies get more pixels to work with. The big bosses were very well detailed for a 1989 Game Boy game. Tatanga in particular was an excellent sprite. You could tell that they were improving as development went on. The graphics of Super Mario Land get a 7 out of 10. So when you first fire up the game, there's no music on the title screen. You would have thought that you forgot to turn up the volume on your Game Boy, but once you hit start, you are immediately hit with what's considered the main theme of this game in the overworld level. The music overall fit the respective locales. You have a poppy overworld theme, a scary sounding underground theme, and a unique theme for the Chinese-inspired final world of the Chai Kingdom, to name a few. They don't leave a lasting impression like the other Mario tracks do, but they're still nice to hear. The boss themes, including Tatanga's, are all really pretty simple loops, just pushing intimidating notes as you try to figure out the enemy patterns. Sound effects are okay. They definitely give the vibe as if this was a knockoff Mario game. They work, but they just aren't the same. It kind of has its own charm in that respect, especially the sound of hitting bosses with the Super Ball, and they give off a sheep bleating kind of sound. It grated on the ears, but you wanted to hear it because it meant you were connecting with your target. The music and sound of Super Mario Land gets a 7 out of 10. I had to have been only 5 when this game came out, so my platforming ability was still in its infancy. But boy did I ever give this game many tries. I'll even say that I did manage to beat it only once back then. After playing it again now, I think young Tony would be pretty jealous of old Tony's 48-minute winning run. Being a portable game, I definitely had lots of fun with this game on camping trips, long drives, and airplanes. The nostalgia hit of this game gets a 5 out of 10. Mario's first foray into portable gaming may have taken a lot of liberties on the Mario formula, but it's a solid game that's quick to pick up and finish. If nothing else, this game holds a lot of lore and design that future Mario games did pull from when a more unique feel had to be seen. This short romp in Sarasa Land to save Princess Daisy is well worth a go.